where it comes up.
Did it.
We're trying. If anyone can hear us, we're trying. We'll just leave it live. It says there's 6 concurrent viewers. Oh.
Oh, we're on, baby.
Oh, are we? Sweet.
Well, it looks like we're on. So welcome to the show. Looks like there are some technical difficulties going on around the world with YouTube right now. I don't know if you can see us, but I do know that looks like we're a little bit behind. So let us know how the sound and things are going. It looks like the chat is down.
It's trying.
It's trying to load itself, but again, YouTube is having the problem. It is not us. So it'll take us a few minutes to get resituated and back on to where we need to be so that we can follow our notes. But again, welcome to our show. Tonight we're going to be pretty hot and pretty heavy into some things. I'm going to keep my laptop in my lap.
Where's Brother Max says, nice legs.
I like y'all looking at my legs. As y'all can see, the format changed a little bit. We're still up in the study, but we moved across the room so that we can sit in front of our flag. Works Brother Tom Bruce sent me this flag, and I feel like it's appropriate. And we're sitting here where I like to sit and read and study a little bit. So, but just bear with us. If there's any more technical difficulties, we're still going to do our thing until we're out of, it quits working and we're out of time. But again, welcome to Follow Me.
Yep, Brother Tyler.
Yes.
Leave the door open.
Yeah.
And hopefully everyone can get in. YouTube, at least we weren't 2 minutes in and it went down. That would have really been a pain. So you're going to see us using our phones. Wiley's going to have his laptop on his lap. And other things. Just because we're trying a little bit different, we're trying a little more relaxed format over here. We're still going to hit a tough subject tonight. But hopefully you enjoy. Right Works for Brother Gomez, welcome. Right Works for Brother McGee, welcome. Right Works for Brother Kessler, welcome. And let's see who else we got. Oh yeah, Michelle Forrester's on.
Yeah, of course.
Works Brother Brian Coffey is on with us. Glad to see you all here. Glad you all stuck around and waited through the YouTube storm. It was down all over the country. So we'll try to get this thing kicked off now.
So tonight's episode is going to be brought to all of you by
I don't have my notes up yet, but hold on. I'll get them here in just a second. Tonight's episode is brought to you by, remember when you were Worshipful Master, we could actually attend lodge?
Imagine that. And yeah, that's an inside poke at most, but we all know that lodge will be happening at some point. But tonight we want to talk about investing in others. We want to talk about protecting Masonic integrity. These are some things, with our show, if you don't know by now, our show is purely based on things that have happened to us or things that have been said to us, that the things that make us think and make us want to share.
Right.
So when we want to share these things, remember, these are our opinions, but we generally back it up with hard facts. The proof is in the material to which we share with everybody. Tonight may be a pulpit moment for me at some point, but just understand that, brethren, guests, friends, there are some hard things that we need to look at as Masons. Number one is about investing in others. And number two is about protecting our Masonic integrity. Because the way the world is shaped now and the way things are creeping into our fraternity, we have got to protect those borders more than ever.
Well, one thing I want to ask and interject before Wiley gets up on his pulpit. One, where's your floss? Two, can everyone hear us okay? How is the audio tonight? Um, we've got things in a little different setup, so we need to make sure that we're heard clear, and there's no real background noise, and everything's copacetic.
So
sounds good. Okay,
sounds good.
That's what
we want to hear. All right, so it took us a while, but we're up and going, and maybe we don't have an interruption during our set. But I want to talk to you. Investing. The definition of investing is to put time or money into something. Hope that there will be returns greater than what was originally put in.
And that's the reason for the clock and the very short title tonight is a little bit of clickbait, but not really. We want to put people to connect the dots between invest and time because, as Masons, that's what we do. We invest time in others and in ourselves. So this is all about investing time tonight. I don't think we're going to touch too much on money. I think we've touched that enough lately. So we're going to talk about investing time in yourself, in your brethren, and in your lodge.
Yeah, and the question tonight to everybody, the first question, because I got several tonight, and that I hope that we get a really good feedback from those that are watching. What are you doing to invest in others, especially now during this critical time in our history? What are you doing to see that others remain successful and that you're nurturing newer members, younger members? You got to remember there's younger members who may have taken their EA degree in January or February, and what are you doing to nurture these guys? We talk about it all the time about, you got to be the change you want to see, and you've got to be the one that, if you're mentoring or coaching or being an impact player in someone's life, you have to develop them into the Mason you want them to be.
Right.
I mean, you've got to do those things. And my question is, what are you doing to invest into others right now? We have a few side notes, and the side note for tonight is it carries a lot of weight with what I just said.
Yeah, and so my side note to this, Wiley and I typed the questions and the topics throughout the days and weeks, and I came up with a little side note. We're all investing a lot of time in each other right now, calling each other, talking to each other. My thing is, how will you carry this on once we go back to lodge? We know that part of that will die down because you get to see your brethren face to face, but we can't forget about those brothers who aren't at lodge that we've seen over a Zoom cast or some other thing during these last several weeks. We've got to keep that communication up, because if we don't, we lose some.
But you also know that our new normal is going to be different once we get back.
It is.
The things that maybe we've done in the past, we're not going to be able to do those things now, or we're going to be very cognizant of those things and very weary and slow about doing certain things.
Yeah, we got to think about it this way too, is, we're all mentors to somebody.
Every day.
So someone may have reached out during a Zoom meeting, hey, this is easy for me to do. They may want someone, you in particular, to continue talking to them, and you might get them to come back to lodge. You might find out they have a need they haven't wanted to talk about. There could be a plethora of things that they've wanted to do, but they just haven't had that welcome feeling because something may have happened in the past,
mm-hmm.
and now they want to come back, and you've seen them once or twice. Believe it or not, just calling them and talking to them and investing a little of your time into them may get them to come back into the lodge and come back and
well, the greatest gift you can give any human being is your time.
Right.
We know that time is our most precious asset that we have as human beings. We're so wrapped up in other things, but now we've had extreme downtime to reflect, to refocus, to retrain ourselves. I'm sure everyone here has saved a ton of money who goes to lodge meetings. You're not burning out $400 of gas a month to go to a meeting, and that feels pretty good, but the reward is worth the investment.
Absolutely.
To be able to walk into a lodge or go to a platform where you speak to someone or you're giving a lecture or something, the reward from that is if you had one person who you could, who you impacted that night, you would understand.
Right.
So we're all super anxious to get back to Lodge. I mean, spring has finally sprung in Georgia, and we're looking at close to 90-degree weather by the weekend. We've been pent up for 8 weeks. We're ready to get out and go do something.
Absolutely.
So we're ready to get back to Lodge. But once we get there, now what? What are we gonna do? You can't just jump right back into it just like it once was. So we should have been investing in each other all along. Mm-hmm. We need to really focus and to share the knowledge of the fraternity with some brother who may not be well versed in history or customs, like say you and I are, right. Or say some of the folks that are watching us on this cast tonight. Have you taken that time to talk history and masonry with a brother? Those things are really, really important. These are very important questions that you should be able to answer pretty quickly and pretty easily. For me and you, we wanted to build this cast so that we could share information with brethren. We wanted to share information with those in the profane world.
Right.
So look, Masons aren't what the super secretive thing that they say they are, or all the wives' tales that have been going on all over the years.
And if you look at the web, and a lot of us do, a lot of us are on the web a lot. There's a lot of negative out there.
Oh yeah.
And part of the reason we wanted to do this is to take away some of that negative. Let people come on here and ask those questions they want to ask, to get on here and talk about those things, learn about those things from us that we feel that Masonry is to us, and I'm sure a lot of our audience does as well.
Well, and we're sharing things that in a normal setting you probably wouldn't receive.
Correct.
We felt the need to educate people. The ability to educate and pass along information in a manner to where we hope everyone can understand. That's always been the ultimate goal for you and I. Being able to talk and just talk to people and not belittle them or things of that nature, but let them understand. Now, understand that with investing into people, there's a lot of things you have to do with that. You always want to, why am I invested in someone? Well, when you invest in someone, you obviously see something in somebody. Yep. that they can be a better version of themselves, or the how. How are you going to invest in someone? By giving of your time.
Well, Worshipful Brother Dixon just said, I checked on Worshipful Brother Arthur Frank Adams today, a 50-year Mason. Don't know who felt better for it. Actually, me.
That's right.
That's one of the cool things that we're able to do right now because we do have the time. And even when we go back to Lodge, call a 50-year Mason up that you don't see and talk to him and let him tell you stories. You'll be amazed at the stories these brethren have. Their Masonic journey, their life journey, and that investment in time will reap you some magnificent rewards through life. It'll garner you a friendship that you'll have for the rest of his life, and you'll be the better for it as a Mason in the long run.
Well, and that leads up to this. I mean, this is one of my big things for tonight. What all this downtime did for me, what it did for me personally, as just a person, it allowed me to refocus and really look at things that I've taken for granted. The ability to shake another man's hand was something I took for granted.
Absolutely.
To be able to hug someone. Most Masons are huggers. We like to hug each other. We genuinely care about fellow men.
Correct.
So it allowed me to refocus about certain things that I take for granted. And especially when it comes to being a Mason, it made me realize that whether I like it or I don't like it, I'm an impact player. because I feel like I've got a message to bring to everyone, and I want them to understand how you love something so deep and you just want it to share it with the world because you're so proud of who you are, but you don't pay attention to the fact of who you're impacting, because you're impacting someone whether you like it or you don't like it.
Well, that's been also the thing for me too, and this is why Wiley especially, but I also needed an outlet such as this, because we don't get that chance to hold Masonic Converse to talk about anything right now unless we're on a Zoom chat or we go to a friend's house that we've known for a while and they know they're not sick. This allows us to interact with you all, and it also allows Wiley and I to interact, because when we're on the road together going somewhere, whether it be to a lodge, down to Grand Lodge in Macon, or to the children's home, or whatever, he and I spend the majority of the time talking about something Masonic.
Well, and the best ride is on the way home because of what we've experienced. And, you know, we're definitely human, because we're automatically thinking about, you know, boy, I wish that they would have said this, or I wish we could have heard that, or, you know, but it's not being critical. It's just a lot of times we go to Masonic settings and they tease us with the goods and dangling the carrot above us, and then they jerk it back. And we're thinking, dang, well, we wish we'd have got the rest of the message, you know?
Well, it's not only that, it's being with your brethren, which recharges your batteries. I know that a lot of times after a lodge session, you might be very tired, but mentally and spiritually, you've recharged. You know,
yes.
Wiley and I talked about it after these casts. We are so hyped up for probably an hour after these casts. We're just built up with energy, because this is a lot more fun than you might think it is sitting on this side of the camera. There's a lot of things we've learned, a lot of things we're going to do better over the course of time. We've readjusted our frame in the picture, which most of you may not have noticed. We've got a lot of black on the screen. So we're learning things as we go, but we're also learning a ton of stuff about Masonry. So we're actually using this to invest in ourselves,
yes,
to share better with you guys.
I mean, if you don't like yourself, how are you going to teach others to be better at what they do?
Right.
You know,
it's just
and I made some notes about just things that when it comes to what I miss the most or what I found out about myself, is, you know, I miss motivating others to be better. You know, that's our ultimate goal, right?
I was going to say, that's what we're supposed to do, right?
I mean, as a fraternity, we're supposed to take men and good men and make them better. Well, I miss that part, you know, and.
Hold on for a second. Worship Brother Tommy Toller just sent me a text. He's watching us at his dinner table. It's fantastic to virtually see you as well, brother. I'm glad you could join us. And all the other guests, whether they be Masons, wives, children, non-Masons, please welcome. And we welcome your questions. If you can put something up in live chat, if you got a question, feel free to do it. This is not just, well, it's mainly focused on us because we're doing it, but we're having fun with it. But we also want to get interaction from our audience, because without you being our audience, we really don't have anybody to talk to but ourselves. And trust me, that we love each other, but it does get boring after.
Yes, it does. So we were talking about just certain things that allow me to focus and refocus on. And when it comes to investing in people, what I miss about being able to go and why investing in people is important to me. We invest in our future. You know, no matter what lodge we're in or what setting we belong to, whether even in our business lives, you as a manager of a facility, I have to invest in people.
Right.
But I want to actually get to know the people, because if I take the time, you know, not everybody is a Six Sigma black belt, you know what I'm saying? Or they're not full of Zig Ziglar and all these cool motivational tools. Some of us have to really work hard at it because we're brash and brazen, and people are uber sensitive these days. So you really have to change your approach with how you love on people.
Right.
You know,
and as you can tell, one of the things this does for us too is you can see the passion in Worship Brother Forrester over here. This builds his passion, and it creates passion for who we are as a fraternity.
Correct.
You know, and our group of friends, our group of brethren, the families. I mean, it just grows and grows and grows when you look at the impact. Because when you impact someone, this is, tell me if I'm wrong here, but when you impact someone, you not only impact them, you impact their family unit and their community.
Right.
I mean, it grows exponentially because you don't just affect that person.
And, you know, we try to help you and me as a collective unit, because we are a unit.
Big unit.
We want others to see the other side of the road.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of our brethren and a lot of our lodges put blinders on when it comes to the us against the Grand Lodge, and you know, we spend so much of our time, we exhaust so much energy trying to show the brethren that the Grand Lodge is us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Grand Lodge is not the 10, 11 guys that wear gold collars around their neck and they don't live in the glass house in Macon, Georgia. They're regular guys like us who, just like in our regular lodges, some must lead and some must follow. So,
but you know what? Every one of us are leaders in one way or another.
yes.
Because everyone, regardless of who you are, you could be a brand new Mason. Someone at some point is going to look up to you, and you're going to be that mentor or that leader for them, whether you realize it or not. And that's why you've got to think about these things.
Well, and it always talks about who are you when nobody's watching. You know, I can pretty much say with 100% assurity, Wiley is the same person off this camera as he is when he's downstairs in the living room. He's a little more boisterous in his own house because he's married to a high-strung Cajun woman, so you have to be a little more firm.
Well, I'm waiting for an amen to come from his wife.
But that's a true statement. And there's another brother on this cast tonight who's also married to a Cajun woman who will understand the gist of my comment.
Right.
So, but I'm still the same person. You and I, we talk to each other every single day. But I don't think, you know, you have a bad day, I have a bad day. You know, we share that with each other, but we've got a unique bond with one another. But that's the same bond we want with everyone else in our fraternity, because we're supposed to love everyone the same.
Well, and it's like something I've learned, and this goes back to investing time in the other brethren. So when I first started in Masonry, I was of that us versus them mentality. You know, I thought the Grand Lodge was these 10, 11, 12 guys kind of up on in my mind, on a pedestal. Well, then I started to learn to interact with those Grand Lodge officers.
Right.
I spent the time to get to know those brethren. They're just the same as you and I. The only thing is they're just like in our lodge, they're given a title and they have to lead. And it's tough to lead if you've ever been in a chair.
It's a huge burden to carry on, but it's a burden of love, and there's not been one that I've ever met in other states, grand jurisdictions, and everything. There's a labor of love to be a Grand Lodge officer. Mm-hmm. It's just what it is. But the brethren need to understand that tough decisions have to be made. Tough decisions have to be made in our own lodges.
Right.
You know, we talked about it in our last show where, you know, I feel very strongly about the fact of how fundraisers should never be used to pay bills. But at the same time, we've sold masonry so cheap, this is what we got.
Yeah, and not to harp on the money too
Right.
much, but, you know, think about this. Those of you who are past masters, when you ran your lodge, you had 50 to 250 people in your lodge rolls to govern. The Grand Lodge has 30,000 to govern. Think about that as a number and the difference in that. So when you make a decision in your lodge, now multiply that times 1,000.
It's big.
It's huge. So when they make these decisions, and I'm not trying to put the Grand Lodge officers up there, I'm talking about spend the time. Mm-hmm. Spend the time to get to know your Grand Lodge officers, and you'll come out with a completely different opinion of the Grand Lodge, who is all of us who are sitting masters and past masters.
And that's the thing that's so crazy is when you and we talk about if someone would have invested in some of these brethren who we're at our Grand Lodge session and we hear some of the comments that are made at the microphone. Well, where was that brother's mentor? Where was that brother's teacher? Or who would have spent the time to invest in him? Because sometimes things are said down there and it makes the brother look really bad. And we don't want anybody to ever feel ashamed or look bad. But from a lodge's point of view, if that was one of my brethren standing up there from my lodge, I would have felt like I let that brother down because I did not invest in him. And Brother Bill Garrison, you're correct in saying that we must adapt to our teaching methods and how we teach, because no two brethren are the same. Mm-hmm. But as a whole, if we teach the message of investing in others and what it means to invest in others, we ensure our future in that manner. So we're taking care of our future, and our impact has to begin on each other.
Well, here's a question for you, and I like this question. Most worshipful brother Danny Wolford said, "You are an example. What kind of example am I?"
Exactly. That's a strong statement.
Absolutely.
You know, we talk about it. We've talked about it just about every episode we've done. You're someone's picture of what a Mason should be.
24/7.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, you can't turn Masonry off just because the meeting ends on your meeting night. You know?
You can't be a Mason
part-time
2 or 4 times a month.
Yeah, you can't be a part-time Mason. You're either all in or all out. But when it comes to investing, those are the things we need to look for. You know, we have got to take the time and invest in each other, because the more people we invest in and try to show them who we are and who we're supposed to be, not what someone thinks we should be, then we're going to be a stronger fraternity as a whole, and our bond will be greater.
And you're going to do what Masonry was set out to do, make you a better person.
Correct.
And I keep reiterating it, but when you're a better person, your family unit's better as well.
Yeah, your whole life is better.
Yeah.
I mean, when you treat others with kindness, when you love on people the way you should, when you're the change you want to be, you know, if it's to be, it's up to me. You know, we've heard all these cliches before, but they carry a lot of merit.
They do.
The merit is you can impact as many people as you want to, and you're going to impact a lot of people you didn't know you impacted.
Well, and you know, right now, all of us, including myself and Wiley, we are super, super anxious to get back to Lodge.
Absolutely.
But when we get there, now what?
That's right.
How do we keep doing what has happened over the last 10 weeks going? Because there has been a ton of good happen over the last 10 weeks with the interactions between brethren that I haven't seen before. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of brethren in the state of Georgia are taking our education and leadership development courses. Mm-hmm. So they're a lot of them are using their time very wisely to invest in themselves, to learn more, and to reach out to their brethren and learn who the brethren in their lodge are. You know, a lot of times we'll have 60, 70, 100 people on our rolls, but we'll see the same 15 people on second and fourth Tuesday, like our lodge meets. What about those other 65 Masons in your lodge? Or more, depending on how your lodge rolls are. Have you reached out to them? Have you tried to talk to them to see how they're doing? We've talked about it over and over again about making sure our brethren are okay, making sure our families are okay, the families of other brethren are okay. Check on these other lodges. You know, I see a lot of things about we're doing this weekend and we're doing that this weekend. You know, how's your lodge doing? Have you gone by and checked on it? Mm-hmm. Have you made sure that the building's still standing? The one in South Carolina that burned down that we talked about, you know, it's a loss, a big loss.
Yeah, Shrine Center up there.
It could happen to any one of our lodges, and if you don't go check, you don't know.
Yeah, and you know, that goes part with investing. You got to invest in your lodge too. You got to invest all in. But you know, one of the biggest lessons about investing in people that was the hardest for me was learning to listen.
Huh?
Because because I am strong-willed, and I always, I try to research things before I put it out there, because I open mouth and insert foot quite often. But the big thing for me is I'm trying to be a better listener, especially in our fraternal situation.
Right.
Because there are a lot of brethren with some great things and some great ideas, and I don't do that quite as well as I should as a leader, but as a mentor either.
Right.
Because part of the job of being a good mentor is you got to be able to listen as well. So, but that's, I think we'll wrap that up and end on that topic with the investing. I want to talk about integrity. Protecting the integrity of our fraternity. This will probably be my.
I gotta get a drink.
This will probably be my soapbox moment at that time. I like to share the definition of integrity: the quality of being honest and having a strong moral principles, moral uprightness. Pretty stiff, huh?
I'm gonna have to go get your cloths here in a minute. I can feel it coming.
So, with that said, when it comes to protecting the integrity of who we are as Masons in our fraternity, we must do our best to eliminate the vices that have encompassed some in this fraternity. Think about the following. If you replace integrity with hypocrisy. If you replace truth with prevarication,
Lies.
That's a souped up word for lies. It's the $10 word.
He must have looked that one up.
I did, actually, because I wanted to see if I could say a fancy word. You replace honesty with deception. How will history show who we are as Masons if we continue to allow these things to continuously enter our fraternity?
Well, and we said we wouldn't. Well, for all of those things, we said we wouldn't. But it happens, and it's hard. Integrity's hard.
But our philosophy as Masons is to take good men of high character, high morals, and high standards in their lives, and make them better.
Right.
So if our philosophy of making good men better, as we say in our little spiel, then are we really doing that today? Are men better alive in our fraternity today, or has the aforementioned things, the things I talked about being replaced, become so entrenched in who we are in a fraternity that we can't ever get it back?
I think if you say can't ever, that's you can always do something.
Okay. Well,
you can get it back.
Maybe.
It's going to take some work.
But my point with the statement is this: our philosophy is we take good men and make them better.
Correct.
They're supposed to have high morals, high standards, believer in the moral law, believer in the follow the laws of the land. Correct.
Correct.
Okay. But if we replace these things, if we replace integrity with hypocrisy, well, now you're talking the talk, but you ain't backing it up.
I know.
Or if I took the truth, the written truth, the written truth out of all these years of masonry, hundreds of years of written truth, and I replaced it with lies, deceit, deception, what has our fraternity become of?
Well, you've done yourself and the fraternity a disservice.
Absolutely. But with that said, as wrong as you may say I'm sounding right now, because I'm pretty staunch about this right now, and actually I'm pretty wound up about it. But you can't deny the fact that today that we have a society that is disrespectful, unappreciative, and it's all about themselves all the time. Self-gratification all the time. Think about what that has done into our fraternity and how it's creeped its weary head and snaked its way through the things that we do in our fraternity. And think about this. Think about it.
Well,
When you have, you're investing in others, right? What did I say about investment? It's the you hope the rewards are greater, the returns will be greater than the investment. Okay, but if we got all these things wiggling into our fraternity as a whole now, we're not talking about just in Georgia, we're talking worldwide. Selfishness. Remember, there were some guys told me and you one time, and we've heard it 1,000 times. Things are successful the most when no one cares who gets the credit. Now it's look at me.
Well, and you're right. That's a societal thing. My son, when he was younger, was playing community soccer, and they gave everyone a trophy at the end of the season, whether you were first place team or last place team. We don't keep score. Everybody gets a trophy. My son, and this was a proud dad moment, so I got to tell this story because it really interacts with what we're doing. He came home with that trophy, and he said, "Dad, this trophy doesn't mean anything. Everybody got one." And I think some of that has creeped into our lodges, and this is probably going to hit some folks hard, and I'm going to say it anyway. We've gotten to a point where everyone wants that award or that title or that honor bestowed upon them because someone else got it.
That's right, because, oh, I should have had it. I've had more length of service, or I've done this, or I've done, me. Well, you think about what else happens with that, Will. In that same group of selfishness, hypocrisy, deceit, lies, they try to mask that up in the veil of charity and good works. Do you know why they do that? They do that to soothe themselves, to rub their ego. You know, when you become a Mason, you had to check yourself at the door. You remember that first night you came in the lodge and you went through your apprentice degree?
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm telling you, there ain't a man alive that experienced that degree that didn't understand how small a thing he was on the earth that night.
Right.
But at the same time, he also saw his first arm arm around you with friendship and brotherly love and said, "Look, we knew you were going to do this. We knew this. There was no way out of it. But we did this to teach you something that sticks with me for the rest of my life." So the only way to weed all this out is to not be afraid to educate people. These things are unacceptable. If we have people that are being deceitful and hypocritical, those that are being hypocritical against our Grand Master is wrong, because as a leader of a lodge, part of your obligation as master, you promise to pay homage to the Grand Master in his office during his time.
Right.
But yet we have those out there that fail to do that. The Grand Master can't tell me what to do. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So those people need to be dealt with. I'm sorry, and no, I'm not. I'm not sorry. I will never apologize for the way I feel when Masons can't act like Masons. Right. When you talk about the integrity of our fraternity that was built on duty, honor, and service, selflessness, charity, all the good works, when we can't have those people, or when those people are infiltrating into our society, they need to be dealt with swiftly, and they need to be dealt with accordingly. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in not worrying about, not want to hurt somebody's feelings, that we forget to do our job as Masons, because we're our self-police.
We're supposed to be. And you're perfectly right. We all took those obligations. We all took those words, and they meant something to us. We've got to remember those words we spoke that night, those nights. Because if they don't mean something to you, and they don't mean something to you every day, then as a Mason, you're doing yourself a complete disservice. You're doing a disservice to the fraternity. And other people looking at you are like, well, if that's okay, then I can do it too. And that's how these things creep in and creep in.
Well, and then it becomes a cancer, and it becomes something that just eats away at all that is good.
Well, then when you try to correct it, it becomes harder to correct.
Yes, and now you're the bad guy because you're trying to do what is right. fortunately for me, there is one way, and that's to be doing it the right way. You know, Masonic accolades are what they are. You know, those things are for my children and my grandchildren. I am fortunate enough to be able to live these things in real time. I'm fortunate enough to be able to sit here and say that without a shadow of a doubt, I love this fraternity more than most anything next to my children and my spouse, than anything in the world.
Well, and what you're talking about is we don't want someone to sit here on this end of the camera in 30, 40, 50, 100 years and talk about Masonry in a downlight because of the history we're creating right now.
Yeah, what's history going to show? That we've lost our honor, we've lost our integrity, duty, honor to country. I'm sorry, yeah, it's your right, but when it comes to being a Mason, there are standards, and the standard is this.
Well, and if you do something incorrect, and you do something out in the community incorrect, your community will see it. Well, those folks are possibly not going to live there all their lives, so they'll move somewhere else, and then they'll spread the infection of, well, I saw our Masons doing this, or I saw Masons doing that. Think about that when you're doing something Masonically. Remember, you could be the only Mason someone sees, and if they see you doing something wrong, they're going to put that back out there.
But the big thing for me, the biggest part for me is Masons are supposed to have high character. They're supposed to have high morals. They're supposed to be honest. Quit being dishonest. Quit backbiting. Quit slandering each other. If you're elected to do a position, do your job. Right. And that don't mean be a part-time Mason. You got to do your job.
Well, and don't use the position. And I've seen this happen. Don't use the position to lift yourself up.
Yeah. What did Abe Lincoln say? Or what did that? Was it Abe Lincoln that said you want to see the true character of a man? Give him a little power.
Right. And Brother Henry said, nor do they want to put the time and effort to properly prepare themselves for being worshipful master. That seems like such a trivial thing to some people, but being worshipful master of your lodge is, you've got to have a lot of integrity to uphold that position, and a lot of trust in yourself and in your fellow officers to be able to do that properly for the year that you're master.
You want to know what creates success? When preparation meets opportunity. Think about that. Brother Kessler talked about, Mark Twain said, always do the right thing. It'll gratify some people and astonish others, or the rest. That's a fact. Because in a society today, doing the right thing is like, oh my God, you did the right thing. It's such a shock.
Oh yeah.
I have nothing to gain by the message I sit here and bring on this YouTube channel. You know what? The only thing that I want to know is, brethren, it's okay if someone's not doing the right thing, you need to be telling them. You're obligated to do so. Exactly. So, with that said, the only way to weed out this stuff, we got to educate them. And you talked about educating them. That's what we're trying to do here. I know it's drug on, but when we talk about protecting the integrity of this fraternity was created by giants.
If we don't do this, we lose the fraternity. That's why this is so important. And I've let Wiley just go on and on about it because he needed to. This is very important. It's also a tough subject for some people because it's hard for them to look in that mirror and realize that they haven't been the Mason they should have been. You know what? There's days that I wake up and think, I'm not the Mason I should have been.
And that was the one thing that I learned in refocusing. When I look in the mirror, have I been as good to someone as I should have been today? Have I invested in others like I should today? What have I done to impact one person today? And we're talking about this, the whole integrity thing. We must hold our members accountable. We have failed our members if we don't hold them accountable. And I know that it seems like I'm preaching and I'm lecturing, but this is important to everyone on this show tonight. Our integrity is questioned daily. Our honor, our duty, with some of the actions of a few. Mm-hmm. And it gives off the bad vibe to the whole of fraternity. And it happens around the world. It's not just here. And I'm speaking as Freemasonry is a general term, meaning worldwide. But, you know, we must hold the principles that were laid down so many years ago by our forefathers. Our forefathers laid the path. And all we have to do is walk the path.
But we stray too often.
Yeah, we want to get to the left or we want to get to the right. Being a Mason carries huge responsibility. You know, the obligations that you took as a Mason are lifetime obligations. They're not, you can't pick one out today and use it and choose the next one tomorrow. You can't. Being a Mason is a 365-day commitment for the rest of your life.
Right.
And if you can't handle that job, then being a Mason is not for you and you should get out.
Well, and don't ever underestimate the impact you have on someone's life. It's one of our quotes tonight, but it's very powerful for what we're talking about tonight. Don't ever underestimate the impact you have on someone's life. And we're not talking about just Masons here. Mm-hmm. We're talking about people in general.
And before we get off to these quotes, I got one more phrase.
That one fit in there perfect.
Absolutely.
For what we're talking about, though.
You know, duty, honor, and integrity and service to others must prevail, or fail we surely will. Surely will. Do you love your fraternity enough to stand on the shoulders of giants and make a difference in our fraternity, or will you continue to sit on the side and watch those who crave power and authority and self-gratitude destroy us from within? And that ends my message tonight, with the exception of our quotes.
And my answer to that is no. I'm not going to sit around and do it. And that's part of what we do, what we want to do with this show, is make people think about these tough things and make them realize
life is, being a Mason is a good gig if you apply it the way that it was meant to be applied, period. And we'll go on down to our quotes. And I'm sorry people think that I ran on and I get wound up, but brethren, don't you ever mistake my passion for being arrogant, because there are a lot of things in this fraternity that we need to address as brethren. I'm as guilty as the next brother, as this brother sitting beside me, about not doing my part to hold accountable those who question our Masonic integrity. Not mine personally, but the fraternity as a whole. I got a problem with that. And I've not done my part, but I pledge to do my part.
Brother Kessler.
Yeah, man in the arena.
Brethren,
but go ahead with the quotes.
You can all take a breather now. Wiley is off his pulpit. But you know what? This is a topic that needed a pulpit tonight. We told you at the beginning when we started all this, there were going to be some tough nights. There are going to be some fun nights. There are going to be some historical education nights. This is one of those tough nights. It was a tough subject for us to draw together. It was a tough subject for us to figure out how to present it. That's why I just let Wiley preach on and on tonight, because he's very good at putting out this kind of stuff in a manner that it feeds you instead of drowning you.
Well, and it's also you can sit and listen to a country boy talk all night just because of his slang. You're right, Brother Coffee. Masonry works every time. There's only one way to do it, and that's the right way. I would like to express my thanks to orangeblogger.org for allowing me to talk about 4 keys to investing in others. And I found a presentation that was given by past Grand Master of Louisiana back in 2008. It's called the Lectern, and he was at this Grand Masters conference, and he gave this paper, and and it come from some of our ideas, but some of the other things that we talked about tonight are purely based on thoughts of mine and Will's and things that have been said to us by other brethren and conversations that I just bank it for later, and then sometimes it just comes out. I can't help it. But our quotes for tonight,
Go ahead.
goodness is the only investment that never fails. Henry David Thoreau.
And the integrity of men is to be measured by their conduct, not their profession.
And that's Eunice. The integrity of a man is to be measured by their conduct. Their conduct. If your conduct is unbecoming, that's how you should be measured.
Right.
You know, not who you are, how much money you got, how much wealth you have.
Well, that's that on the level thing
No,
again.
because in masonry, we're all supposed to be the same.
Yep.
Your conduct becoming, being unbecoming of a mason, it's just unacceptable to me.
Well, one of the things I wanted to address tonight is, brother, we were going to do something. We did something a little different tonight. This was our plan B. We were going to try to do something that we'll still do in the future, but we found out we can't live stream from that location. So we'll put together some recordings from that location. So this was our plan B, just things would look different, not everybody would question it. But this is going to be our relax. When we've got a little preach moment or just something where we want to do as kind of a relax, we'll do it over here on this side of the office. We might even end up with a drink once in a while.
Oh, that's going to definitely happen. That's not even a once in a while.
So, brethren, ladies, guests, family members, we want to thank you all for being here, having the stick-to-itiveness to bear with Wiley as he got through what he had to get through tonight, because it was a very tough subject.
And it's one of those unapproachable subjects where we all know it's happening,
Right.
but we got to quit being afraid of our job. Sometimes, we know that peace and harmony must prevail.
Mm-hmm.
We know that in all aspects, peace and harmony must prevail. But in order for us to redirect the ship, and most worship Brother Larry Nichols talked about it extensively, we're driving this big old huge boat, and we got a little bitty oar and a little bitty motor on the back of it. It takes a lot to turn this big old ship.
It does.
So if I happen to be the person who goes in front of the firing squad first, I don't mind to be that guy, because Freemasonry means that much to me, and I will remember what was told to me as a Mason, that I want to live respected and die regretted.
But you see how the passion builds in us as the night goes. He and I will sit around and talk about this for another hour. But everyone, thank you for absolutely thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being here with us tonight.
Absolutely.
Without you, this couldn't happen. Please remember to hit the like, subscribe, and if you hit the little bell, it'll notify you when we post our next episode. We're going to start working on putting some episodes in the can, so to speak, because I feel that we're getting closer and closer to that day when we'll get to see our brethren and their families face to face. We love you all.
Yes, we do.
And at the end of the day, we want you all to be excellent to each other, Mason or human alike. So with that, we say
good night.